Well, Programming 2, what we're going to do now is start on a journey, an adventure, as it were. We are going to start building an RPG. Could you sing that over a little closer? We can get it on the microphone there, Dr. Taco. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a new project. And boy, I'll tell you this is going to need to be in version control eventually. And you're going to want to make sure you have a new repository for this project. You want to separate this from the others. So now you've got two options when you do these programs for a visual window. You can do the Windows Forms application, or you can do what's called the WPF application. Now, they both are ways of creating windowed type programs. Okay, the WPF stands for Windows Presentation Foundation or something like that. Anyway, that's for like your standard Windows programs. You're going to build a program for Windows with all the menus, the whistles and bells like you would use the Windows Presentation Foundation or whatever it's called. In fact, it says Presentation Foundation, okay? We've been doing Windows Forms, and I know that these two don't behave exactly the same, and I have better experience with the Windows Form application. But if you want to take on an additional challenge, because it's just not enough for you to just follow what I do, my recommendation is you try to see if you can get it to work in the Windows Presentation Foundation. If you've had a history of having bad experiences when you try going off on your own, then I don't recommend you do it. Okay, so know yourself before you attempt this. So I'm gonna be teaching this off of this Windows Form application. Now, hopefully our media drive, I'm gonna pause. Okay, so I'm gonna choose my folder where I'm gonna do it, and then RPG. So this is gonna be the RPG project, and I'm gonna keep it really short for now. But if you think of another name for this project, then you might want to call it that. For now, this is our pre-alpha release, so we could essentially make changes and give it a new name later. For now, let's just keep it short. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. Visual C Windows Form Project. And the first thing that's going to happen is going to open up the Form Designer. So what we're going to do is we're going to create two screens. One will be the welcome screen or the menu, and the other one's going to be a screen for creating our characters called the character screen. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we're presented with a form. Okay, see it says form1.cs. And let's do some properties. Let's adjust it to match what we're going to do. So I want to get my window for properties. Properties window. And drag it over here just a little bit more. Okay, first thing you always want to do is name your form. And we're going to do FRM, right? Or we're going to write out form. Well, we're going to do FRM, and I'm going to put an underscore, and this is going to be menu. Okay, and we call it menu, or we could call it main menu. It's up to you what you want to do. Might there be another menu? Maybe. I'm just going to call it form menu. And then we want to change the text. So the form menu allows us to address this particular menu. I don't know what I just did. Okay, just ignore that little weird glitchy thing. All right, so down, you want to scroll the properties down. Make sure you select the form and change the text. And right now, we'll just call it RPG main menu. Okay, we got our title on here. If you guys want to play around with the style of it, you can do that in here with the color, background color. You can add images, etc. For now, what we designed and we decided on our board, we're going to create a series of buttons like create the character, load the game, options, high scores, and credits. Okay, if you want to put a picture in here, you can load it up, and you're going to possibly want to redesign the shape of this. For now, what I want to do is get my toolbox. So I got to go to View, get the toolbox open. Here we are. We're going to do we can do all Windows forms, or we can do common controls and do a subset. First thing you probably want to do is we have a little menu along the top, but we should probably have a label for our game. So we'll call it the game title, and it's a label. And I'm just going to drop it in here for now. And it's going to be kind of a placeholder. But I want to give it a good name. So instead of label 1, I'm going to put LBL underscore. So it's a label. We know it's a label because the LBL, capital LBL underscore. And then we'll call this game title. So we give it a generic name so that later on, if we want to change the title, we can do that, and it will still be the game title. But then you can go on here, and where it says text, instead of label 1, we can highlight it, or we can click this little arrow, get our whole window here. So this is my placeholder. RPG game title goes here. And hopefully you wouldn't start coding all this without knowing, but at some point we might decide we're going to have our name and we'll go in and adjust it. And so we're going to play around with a little bit like the size and the font. So one of the things I would recommend you do is you see where it says font and you got this little plus sign. You can go through all of these one by one, but I recommend you just click on here, open this little window, and then you can style it all just like this. So you pick a font that you like, maybe make it bold, change the font size, pick one that might be a very RPG-looking title. So I'll pick one. Okay, I picked my font. I made it Pericles, and it's, for whatever reason, it wanted to do 15.75 points. Not sure why it did it. I actually chose 16, but hey, I'm not going to argue. Looks okay. I got it centered along the top. And that'll help decide kind of where we put everything else. Once you have your game title figured out, I'll give you guys a moment in class to do that and pause the video. But the next step will be to actually create some buttons here. And so you want to click on button, drag it out, and I would line up your buttons with the text. If you want to have a picture, you might want to make room for it. So like move that button down a little bit lower. And so we're going to create a series of buttons as well. As a teacher, one of my rules of thumb is if a student asks me for another prefix for their game title, it's time for me to move on. So we'll start adding buttons now. Okay, button 1. We could let Microsoft program us, but we know better. We're not going to do it. We're going to name our button. So, capital BTN underscore for button. First one is going to be create character. And if you want to shorthand create instead of all of character, you could just do create car. But honestly, it's a little extra typing, but IntelliSense will actually help us out here. That's our name. Don't forget to add the text. So create character, we're going to need to resize the button. I like my buttons a little bit taller, not so narrow as the default. Okay, so there's our create character button. And we could actually duplicate, copy, and paste, I believe. Does that let us do it? No. Okay, apparently it didn't let me do it. There we go, copy and paste. Thinking of lining them up side by side. So we're going to have a create character. And we have a load game. And we'll have some other buttons. And then I'm going to pause. I'm going to create a couple more buttons. And as you already know, we can just go ahead and create the buttons. You can see what they look like when I'm done. So I've created my other buttons. I just copied one, and then I pasted it. And then each one has its own name. They each have its own text. And you should be able to do that. But we had a great question just now, and that was, how do we change this icon? Because honestly, it's like we don't want this icon that everyone sees. And that's just a sign of a lazy coder that actually never took the time to create their own icon. So what you want to do is you want to select the form itself, and that's one of the options, and it should be alphabetized. So I'm looking for C. There it is, icon. So one of the things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find an icon file, and it should be a file saved as an ICO. Okay, so I'm just going to look for one online and drop it in. It might actually allow us to use other graphic files. It could, yeah, see, look, it says icon files. So we're going to look for that. And there's a lot of online generators that will take a picture and turn it into an icon. But I'm just going to look generically, find one, save it, and then load it. So I just did a search, and I literally just put in RPG, and then we'll try file type ICO, see if that helps us. We're looking for an icon. I guess it doesn't do it. There it is, ICO files. So that's what we're looking for. Here's one that says RPG. Notice how they do support transparency. So I'm just going to pick one of these, and obviously I recommend you get original one. I kind of like this, so I'm going to go ahead and click it and see if I can save it. I'm going to save image as, and it should save it as an ICO. I hope it does. Yep, Favicon ICO. I go up to Pictures, and I save it. I go to Visual Studio. All right, Visual Studio, here we go. Go to Pictures here. And I'm looking for the Favicon ICO file. There it is. Load it up. There, now I have RPG, little ICO file. You could probably go for a bigger file if you wanted. But at least that'll do the trick for now, and you guys can do another one later. All right, I'm going to end this particular part of the video, but I just want to encourage you to find another picture, and you can actually add a picture box, and you can drop it in there and then load a picture by finding an image and dropping it in there as well. But I'll let you guys figure out how to do that.